Welcome to Nova International School's Writing Pearls podcast. I'm Julija Krstevska, an IBDP English B teacher and the mentor of this iconic creative writing project, Nova Writing Pearls. It is a project conceptualized by students, written by students, and dedicated to students. Nova Writing Pearls edition 2023 is all about decisions, maturity, creativity, and imagination. Authors invite their peers, parents, or simply all of us, readers, to have a glimpse in their world of imagination and fantasy, as well as to join them on their journey of finding answers for different dilemmas or confirming the choices and decisions while distinguishing right from wrong. Today, in our program, we have two guests. Sarah Shea, the author of the amazing short story The Cycle. She will offer any insights into the main theme and main conflicts that the characters in the short story encounter. And Nina Georgievska, a presenter, who will secure a unique literary experience by reading the story. So, let's begin.
The Cycle by Sarah Shea. You're gaining a little weight, mentions Arya's mom. Arya's eyes were immediately drawn to the plate of lasagna that was in front of her. However, her favorite food had now transformed into extra calories and not yummy food. Her hands fell to her stomach, wishing that the harder she squeezed it, the smaller it would get. The more she thought about eating, the more disgusting and bloated she felt. I wasn't hungry anyhow, she excuses herself as she gets up from the table. She starts to walk up the stairs to her room, but stops when she notices her reflection in the full-length mirror across from her in the room. She instantly sucks her stomach in, but that doesn't stop her from noticing that her thighs had grown bigger, her stomach had become droopier, and no matter how much she sucked in, the little excess of fat wouldn't disappear. She felt tears fill her eyes, making her reflection blurry. That one comment affected her deeply. I could feel her inviting me in to take over her mind and her body. Being absolutely consumed by me, an eating disorder, can be the cause of weight loss, but at what cost? I saw her jump in her bed, covering her body with her blankets, wishing to never leave her room again. At least that way, no one could judge her. Maybe if she just laid on her stomach for long enough, it would become flatter. Although still early, Arya chose to sleep instead of dealing with her insecurities. She thought that falling asleep, even for a short while, helped her forget what was going on. Arya opened her eyes at the bright light that came from her window, and she found herself in the same body as the day before. The same body she hated and wished to crawl out of. She woke up pretty early in the morning, even though she didn't go downstairs until later, because she knew the smell of fresh toast would tempt her to eat, and that was the last thing on her mind. She shouted, "I'm late for school, no time for breakfast," as she dashed out the door, burying her hunger. Entering the school, she felt as if everyone's eyes were directed at her body, as if the only thing about her that stuck was the extra weight she had put on. During classes, she was distracted, so she forgot about me for a while, at least until lunchtime. While all her friends were waiting in the line at the cafeteria, she sat quietly, waiting for them. "Hey, why didn't you get something to eat?" her friend noticed. "I ate breakfast at home. I'm not hungry." She tried to mask the loud signals that her stomach was giving her and ignored the fact that her body needed to eat. She walks around the school, trying to get to her next class, but she can't help noticing the other girls in her generation. How come they got blessed with such a body? Oh, the things that she would do to have that. She passes by them, slowly running out of breath as she tries to suck her stomach in. Keeping her back straight, hoping to stretch her stomach enough for it to look flat. Little does she know, nobody's looking at her body. School ends, and as all her neighbors wait for the bus, she decides to walk home. "But it's an hour walk," her friend asks in a concerned tone. However, Arya was determined to lose weight, and she would do whatever it took. On her way home, she never failed to compare her body to every girl she saw or cover her stomach every time she saw a group of teenagers her age. When she was close to her house, she felt her knees get weak like they were about to give up on her. She entered through the door. "I'm home!" she shouted while running up the stairs. She laid in her bed, finally letting herself notice how tired she was. She still didn't feel like she made enough effort to lose weight today. She opens her phone, her finger automatically clicking on Instagram as if it was the muscle memory. Scrolling through pictures of models and girls with perfect bodies, she encountered a link. "Want to lose 10 pounds in 2 days? Click this link and we'll show you just how." Arya couldn't help but click on the link. She skimmed through everything in the article to find the part on how to lose weight. As she gathered her last strength, she stood up from her bed and ran out of her house to the nearest pharmacy. The link she had just opened directed her to some pills that make you lose weight fast. Forgetting to read the side effects, she quickly started to take the pills. Every morning and night, she hit the 24-hour mark of not eating. And just like that, she continued to hit 30 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, 1 week, 2 weeks. How long could this go on? She came back from school, same routine as always. However, today she was home alone. She runs to the mirror to see her progress and starts seeing a change. Not the change she was expecting though. Her once dark, thick hair had suddenly begun to get thinner. Her under eyes more noticeable than ever, the hue of her skin yellowish, however, no difference regarding the size of her stomach. She couldn't comprehend why her body was resisting. The sadness consumed her now more than ever. She didn't know how to cope, but she had to do something before she broke down completely. She runs down the stairs and finds a note in the fridge. "Dinner's in the oven, and also there's a cake if you want. Love, Mom." She opens the fridge and her world becomes black. She cares about nothing, and all she wants to do is eat. She wants to eat her feelings, hoping the food is going to overpower them. The more she eats, the more she regrets it. The more she regrets it, the sadder she gets. But the sadder she gets, the more she wants to eat. She doesn't understand that food won't fill the emptiness she has felt these past weeks. As her mind comes back into place, she realizes just how much she had eaten. There was no more dinner in the oven, no more cake in the fridge, and no more chocolate in the secret drawer where her mom always hides them. She runs to her room, completely ignoring the mirror as she was scared to see her reflection. She felt bloated and gross, and all she wanted to do was hide, crawl in a hole and sleep her life away. But she couldn't do that, could she? She heads to the bathroom with her fingers down her throat, forcing herself to throw up all that she had eaten previously. And she did. That somehow just made her feel worse. As soon as she got to rest her mind after crying herself to sleep, she woke up in the morning in the same body she cried about. She sees her reflection, wishing she could take scissors and cut out the parts where there was extra and unwanted. She puts her now thin hair in a bun. She wears the biggest hoodie she owns to hide her flaws away, and off to school she goes. Arya had skipped breakfast so many times by now that her mom got used to it and didn't even call to her breakfast anymore. She couldn't help but notice the proud face on her mom every time she skipped a meal. "I'm glad you're taking care of your body now, Arya," her mom proudly mentions every time Arya bails on food. Clueless of the damage that she was causing, her mom kept encouraging me to take over her daughter. Arya leaves for school and experiences another horrible day where she can't wait to get home and hide. Not because she hates school, but rather because she hates herself. She no longer feels comfortable in her own skin. She comes home exactly on time for dinner, as the walk home took her longer than usual due to the lack of energy she carried. She sits down at dinner, trying to contain herself from consuming the whole meal at once. The relapse and binging had been going on for the past week, but she didn't feel powerful enough to stop it. At this point, she didn't care anymore. She wanted to eat like all the other kids. She didn't want to think about food as extra kilograms in the scale. She wanted to view food as it is, yummy fuel to keep us alive and going. I felt myself leave her mind alone for just a moment, but there it was again. "You're gaining a little weight," mentions our mom again.
Thank you, Nina, for lending your voice and your wonderful interpretation of Sarah Shea's short story, The Cycle. Sarah, we are coming to you now. Thank you for being our guest.
Thank you for the invitation.
I would like to start this interview with the concept that your short story has at its heart, the self-image. Self-image is important because how we think about ourselves affects how we feel about ourselves in the society and how we interact with others and the world around us. So my first question would be, considering that the main theme of your short story is the unendurable, agonizing pain that the main character encounters, to what extent it is inflicted by the distorted self-image?
So the whole story is based around how the main character has body dysmorphia and she's unable to see her own beauty. And that is one of the things, the main thing that causes her pain and also makes her lose sight of every other beautiful thing that she has. So I think, yes, the self-distorted image is the one thing that is causing her so much pain, to the point where she starts to lose her hair, her mental state is not very good, her academics go down. So it kind of brings everything else in life a little bit down as well.
Thank you. It is a fact that our culture shapes the way we work and play, and it makes a difference in how we view ourselves and others. It affects our values, what we consider right and wrong. What do you think, Sarah? How is this self-image influenced by the society? And how is this aspect reflected in your story through the main character?
Well, I think the society has a big role regarding self-esteem, especially in young teenage girls. Since until they grow up, everything is fine, everyone likes them, they're cute, but the moment they go into being a teenager, the standards for their beauty go way too high and they're very, very unachievable. And this is mostly why they get body dysmorphia, or they don't like how they look, anything like that. They're not confident enough. And my story is a very simplified version of that. Because in my story, it's not the whole society that is telling her that she's not beautiful, it's only her mom. But also you could say that her mom is the one person who's very important to her, and she doesn't think she's beautiful, so that's why she goes into body dysmorphia and other things.
Of course, I understand your interpretation of this conflict. Television, magazines, movies, and internet are full of images of beautiful, skinny models. Seeing these images over and over again is linked to a poor body image and feelings that our own bodies are not okay. My question would be, to what extent these feelings affect the main character in your story?
Well, the story is written as a cycle, as says the title. So first she's fine, she doesn't have any insecurities, and then her mom points out something about her body, which from which she goes on a cycle of first not eating, starving herself, then she takes pills, then she has intrusive thoughts about cutting her own fat off her body, and these are very self-damaging thoughts to have, and also actions. So the moment she gets better, because she doesn't want to feel like that anymore, her mom again makes a comment which brings her into a cycle. So that's how it affected her.
So the cycle starts again. I understand. The 5 factors of self-image are actually expressed into the 5 specific dimensions, and they are academics, social support, emotional support, family support, and physical beauty. Which factor of these self-image elements is presented as the main conflict in your short story? Where is the conflict growing?
So the story mostly presents physical beauty, but I think that with the lack of physical beauty or not thinking that you're beautiful enough, it also affects all other aspects in life regarding academics or emotional being. So I think we can say that everything is kind of included, although the main one is physical beauty.
Of course. As an author who can reach numerous audience of young people, my final question for the interview would be, what is your message?
So the story is mostly written for people, for teenagers. However, my biggest message that I would say that comes from the story is for older people, for adults, since they are the ones who shape the younger people, who by their actions or their words. So I would just say be nicer because it really shapes who we are as people. And when an adult who is especially close to us says something bad to us or hurtful, we can live with that our whole lives. But also for the young people who maybe don't have very supporting adults near them, to not be that affected because everyone has something beautiful.
Thank you, Sarah, so much. Thank you first for being our guest here.
Thank you for inviting me.
And most importantly, thank you for writing this wonderful short story. And I would like to conclude this interview expressing my hope that next year we may meet again and record another podcast with a different short story that may little by little grow into chapters in books. Thank you, Sarah.